Hello. I first saw this anime a while ago, but I have seen more and more people becoming interested in it recently. Today, we will be talking about Midori, which is also known as Underground Projected Dramatic Pictures, The Camilla Girl, Midori, The Girl in the Freak Show, Shinjo Tsubaki, and Mr. Arashi's Amazing Freak Show. It was directed by Hiroshi Harada and was released in 1992. From the information I've gathered online, it seems that the director of this film, Hiroshi Harada, seems to have started his career in animation around 1976, with his animations often containing themes of cruelty, indignity, humiliation, and bullying, which he claims to have experienced through his childhood and has made a large impact on his work following these experiences. In 1987, he started to work on Midori, but the time to animate it elongated the production, due to Hiroshi not being able to get much funding for the film, due to its graphic content. So Hiroshi decided to animate most of the film himself, finally coming out with the product we see today in 1992. When Midori was initially released, it was immediately banned in Japanese cinemas, so there was a censored and edited cut, created to be shown around selected cinemas in Japan, that Hiroshi insisted has to be circus or carnival themed in order to immerse the audience in the film's environment. The uncensored version was finally brought out to the rest of the world in 2006 with included subtitles. The film itself starts off with a short monologue advertising the circus shows of pain and wonder, while showing images of the performers doing various horrific acts with animals. This then cuts to Midori, a 12-year-old girl who is unable to sell any of her flowers.
お花はいかが？おや、こんな寂しいところで花売りかい。もっと賑やかなところでやればいいのに。お母さんは？病気なの。お父さんは？家出しちゃった。ああ、今日もこんなにお花が残っちゃったわ。お嬢ちゃん、それおじさんがみんな買ってあげてもいいんだよ。困った時はいつでも私を訪ねておいで。この辺は怖いおじさんがいっぱいいるからね。
Midori then goes home and finds that her recently deceased mother is being eaten alive by rats. She chooses to go to the circus but quickly discovers how hellish it is working there with her colleagues, constantly assaulting and humiliating her as she is forced to bite into a chicken's head night after night for the entertainment of the circus guests. Her colleagues include Mr. Arashi, the boss of the organisation, who often takes advantage of one of the younger members of staff, Tokuroshi Mashut, a man with leprosy who is entirely covered in bandages, Akaza, who is a sword swallower, and a circus strongman, Benitsu, who is a middle-aged woman who charms snakes, and Kanabun, who is an intersex child who indulges in cruelty to others, but who Mr. Arashi likes to also assault. Midori then awakes one night, having to watch her colleagues indulge in their sexual fantasies, whilst having to also watch Mr. Arashi lick Kanaban's eyeballs, as Midori tries to find peace elsewhere.
みんな、ご飯よ。もう大丈夫よ。こっちおいで。私があんたたちのお母さんになってあげる。でもみんなには内緒よ。食べられちゃうからね。じゃあまたね。おとなしくしてるのよ。
As Midori leaves, Kanaban arrives and proceeds to kill these puppies, cooking them for the circus meal later on that night. When Midori and the rest of the circus had eaten a fair amount of this meal, Kanaban reveals what they had been eating all along.
どうした緑？あんまりうまいんで泣き出したぜ。ご苦労なさったのね。
Midori tries to leave, but is unable to get the attention of the train that she's trying to signal. Midori is then assaulted by Tokuroshi and Kanaban, and becomes the circus plaything before developing a fever, causing her to hallucinate further. The circus realizes how bad they've been doing financially, and eventually hires a man called Masumitsu, who is a magician who can fit his whole body inside of a bottle. He managed to turn the circus's finances around by being an incredibly successful act wherever they go touring. Matsumitsu and Midori also start a relationship, even though he is a middle-aged man who looks far younger due to his size. Matsumitsu eventually marries Midori and protects her when the other performers try to attack her, eventually resulting in killing Tokurashi after he confesses to Midori that he loves her too. Midori is disturbed knowing that Matsumitsu killed this circus performer after the other performers have found him entirely filled up with mud. A film director arrives shortly and offers Midori a chance to escape by being an actor in his film, but Matsumitsu tears this invitation to pieces and flies into a fit of rage when Midori tries to repair it, sticking her inside one of his glass bottles. That night when performing, he becomes even more enraged when the audience starts to heckle him, so he performs older magic, which horrifically disforms the audience into many different pieces and eventually stops when the police become involved. He then decides to quit the circus the next day, leaving the owner to abandon the circus as well, leaving the resulting performers in disrepair as they have no idea what to do now for work. Midori and Matsumitsu leave to catch a bus, but whilst Matsumitsu is gathering food for Midori, he gets stabbed by a thief, causing him to bleed out and die. Midori cannot find Matsumitsu anywhere and wanders the streets looking for him, but she finds herself being overwhelmed by the world. As it feels like Matsumitsu has abandoned her, like everyone else in her life, she starts to hallucinate that the circus is sat around her, mocking her. She tries to fight back, but in the end, succumbs to her tiredness and falls to the floor. Some people see this ending as Midori ending her life, but I personally see it as Midori finally succumbing to the thought that she will never escape this lifestyle, and this is what it's going to be like for the rest of her life, thus also ending her innocence that she has held on to throughout the whole of the film, with this ending now corrupting her to be like all the other circus performers who have very little faith or hope in the world. I would honestly say that this anime has very little interest in the narrative of its own story, as its main focus seems to be on imagery and symbolism, which it delivers very well with its psychedelic designs and surreal moments. It feels like it is very influenced by films like Un Chien Andalou, Meshes of the Afternoon, and La Jetée, as they tell the narrative through imagery and surrealism, rather than through a standard narrative device. There is also a live-action adaptation of the original manga, which seems to be a little bit more based in reality than this anime is, which helps give the film a bit more of a cohesive narrative, if you prefer that over the more abstract and surreal adaptation. This anime does sadly feel quite cheap in some places, as I feel it's not fully animated as it should be, as there are some scenes of Midori walking fluidly, whilst Midori seems to glide along the floor in others, and it happens a lot throughout the film when it comes to some characters moving and talking, and it's just a bit immersion breaking to see these two different angles, from one that is fully fluid in animation, another which is just essentially a still image. But overall, I would give this film a 9 out of 10, and if I were to rate it as a disturbing film, I would give it a 9 out of 10 as well. I've also decided to create a tier list for all the disturbing films I hope to cover one day, and I can easily add on other films. If anyone would like to recommend any films to me in the comment section, then I would happily add it onto the list. Since I forgot to add August Underground on the last video, I'll put it in the disturbing to watch with my friends category, but it's a good film overall, along with Midori. But I think I'll put Midori above August Underground, because I found it a little bit more disturbing. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.